Hey guys, welcome back. As always, with my confidant, Greg Vita, and our friend, MMA fighter, Ray Arias. Thanks for coming back. Greg, the title of this episode, The Rat Pack, people might have a few questions about why we chose to name that. I want to show you this picture right here about Ori, that he was a police informant.
Well, I'll say this. John Franzese was a long-time FBI informant, confidential informant, paid informant. Everybody he hung out with was an informant. My brother, a Guy Furtado, people that he met. So I would have to say, with what I heard about Ori and all the things I've read and people I talked to, that he definitely was a confidential informant.
It's 1 o'clock on Saturday, July the 6th. This is a conversation that I'm going to be having with Scott Garriola, FBI agent based here in Los Angeles. Yeah. What are you doing, Scott? When are you going back, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow, 4 o'clock flight.
Hey, you just come and go, huh?
Yeah.
Look, I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about yesterday. Just some things I want to clear up in my head, okay? You know that, until you guys came over here, I was ready to fucking move, and, I wanted to spend my life with my kids.
Seems like from the Newsday interview that John was just this lost kid, John Jr. Francis, kind of caught up in his father's lifestyle. It was just this lost kid, but it seems like he was like the leader of the Rat Pack, probably alongside with your brother. Is this a court disposition or uh, like a police transcript that he was like
I believe that
jumping cabs?
I believe it was a court deposition or something. Yes,
And it said he
court
was.
corrected.
It says here he was like skipping cab fares. That was the charge.
Yeah, he would call cabs and he would jump out of them and beat them for their fare. It got so bad that I was at his house one day. My car was in the shop, and I called up a cab and they hung up. And I called again and they hung up again. And the third time I called up, I said, "Well, you're hanging up on me." And they said, "We're told not to take any calls from this house." And I said, "I'm a different person. I will pay you up front." And they came and they, gave me a ride. But yeah, he was very petty like that.
Is this the kind of person John and your brother were together?
John never had any money. Uh, he was always grubbing a pack of cigarettes, a few dollars, something to eat. My brother was always given money by his mother. I gave him money, but they were two peas in a pod. They were both growing up. They were both cruel to animals. They My brother and his friends, they would light fires. Um, he would call in false alarms for say there's a fire somewhere. Uh, they both beat up women. As you know, I told you my brother's transcript when he gave the girl 50 stitches in her face. She got an order of protection against him, and from what I heard, she renews it every year. She's scared to death of him.
Hey, Greg,
Yeah.
now your brother and John, are they serial killers? Because I know they got that case over there, Gilgo Beach murders, a lot of
Oh
dead
yeah.
prostitutes, and
These guys, if it wasn't for prostitutes, they would never get laid. They fit the profile. I'll say that they both fit the profile of being a serial killer. I would definitely say that. In fact, John, he used to always carry this book around with him called Murder Machine. And he would have all these newspaper articles. His room was full with newspaper articles of Son of Sam or mob related killings. He was just fascinated by that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's got a Nassau County Court disposition here from 1996.
Yes.
Criminal possession of a weapon, third degree. I guess it's just one charge. What was that about?
Some girl that he knew, a get high girl or whatever. Uh, he took her car one day and he never came back for like weeks. And she called the police and they arrested John. He was high in the car and he had a loaded handgun on him. It was pled to a misdemeanor. He got like 6 months in jail. He was very dysfunctional, John. He was, even before the drugs. Him and my brother, they had signs that they were probably most likely molested during their childhood. My brother always lies. I've tried to talk to him over the years, but you can't reason with someone who believes their own lies.
On the screen, I have this definition here. This is the word you keep calling your brother, chooch.
Well, that's what everybody calls him. He's been known by that name for at least 35 years.
Well, I'm going to backtrack on one thing. There's this cartoon that you introduced me to called Colonel McBragg. It's about this he's like an old eccentric man, and he's always, I've been here before. I've met this guy before. Spin the globe and point to a country, and I'll tell you the time I went there.
There, Kitty Hawk. Did I ever tell you how I invented the airplane?
You, Commander?
There, Istanbul. Did I ever tell you how I outwitted the enemy's secret service on the Orient Express?
That sounds like Ori.
Michael Francis.
Jimmy Calandra, another storyteller. There's a bunch of them. There's so many of them. I don't even know who they are. They just came out of the woodwork with, stories and what have you.
It's like a sickness, isn't it? Lying, constantly lying, and then
You know what? If you do something every day, whether it's gambling or smoking a cigarette, it becomes a habit. Then you do it for a long time, I don't know, months or whatever. It becomes a sickness that you don't even think anymore. You just naturally lie.
seems to be this common theme with these rats, these informants. Their whole life is a lie.
Yeah.
Did Ori ever tell you about the time he got hit in the head with a tape dispenser?
No, he forgot that one, and he never told me about that. He talked to the FBI.
Was he friends with Sonny?
He said he was friends with Sonny for 40 years. I'll tell you right off the bat, 40 years was a lie. 30 years was a lie. I believe he met John in California. If John didn't go to California, he wouldn't even known who these guys were. They became friends either through drugs. John was probably getting them from Ori, or they were both, local informants, and they started working together. And Ori was definitely not close to Sonny. While Sonny was in the nursing home, Ori called a few times, I remember, and every time the nurse would say, "Sonny, Ori's on the phone," and he would wave his hand and like say, "No." After a while, I said, "Who is this guy?" And he said, "He's one of John's friends." And I said, "Oh boy," I said, "Didn't you learn your lesson? All of John's friends, my brother, other people, Guy Furtado, they're all rats. They're all rats. He's not capable of having a friend. To have friends, you have to be a friend, and he's not like that."
As far as John goes, it sounds like he didn't really do the things he said. Driving around captains and being around his father.
When you drove with my dad, you're responsible when you drive an official or a good fellow. If you're surveilled to a meeting, you get killed. So my father used to yell at me all the time. He said, "What are you doing? I don't see you looking in your mirror." And then, because I would be responsible if, not for him, I mean, he'd never have me killed, but if I used to drive for a lot of the other captains, they all liked me.
You don't think that's true, right?
Of course not. First of all, Sonny came out of jail in 78. He had to walk on eggshells. They were watching him they watched him like he was Bank of America. He was always watched, always surveilled. If he was seen with a known criminal, he'd be sent back to prison on a parole violation. Then he he went back on another parole violation, 1980. Then he went back again, 85 to 93, and there wasn't a bunch of captains running around or whatever. And they wouldn't need John Franzese as a driver, you know. You know, a lot of people talk about Sonny. They talk about, you know, his kids. I actually knew these scoundrels.
This is someone from Australia. I saw the video. You guys can see it.
Yeah.
These are the kind of messages you get. You left a really good impression on a lot of people. This is what Newsday should have focused on, not all the negative BS.
Well, you know, newspapers are not honest, and they were working with the FBI. And the FBI, you know, kind of tried to clean John's act up. You know, he was a victim, and he was pushed into the mob, and he needed a way out. The mob was out anyway, so that's why they never called me. They only called people that were working with the FBI at one time and stuff like that.
Yeah, the FBI was paying for John's drugs.
Yeah.
He needed HIV medication also, right?
His HIV medication was getting paid by Medicaid. He was on like social services and disability his whole life. So that basically paid for that.
I don't understand how courts still use informants, you know, as a basis for executing search warrants. How can you trust a crackhead? How can you trust a crackhead?
I don't get that.
You know, Nick, I was my brother's get out of jail free card. And while he was an informant, he's beating up girls. I showed you the arrest report a while ago. We had it. He gave a girl 50 stitches in her face, a broken cheekbone, nerve damage, and he gets an $87 fine.
Yeah.
And then like about a month later, him and a couple of guys, they jump a Spanish guy out in Long Beach, which is like racially motivated, in my opinion. You know, they probably said some, you know, off-color things to the guy, and you know, it's not cool jumping somebody and stuff like that. If you can't fight a guy, whatever, or have a reason to fight him, don't do stuff like that. But you know, he's protected by the police. And in a way, Junior Gotti was right about that WITSEC program. You know, these guys are out there. They gave information and stuff like that, and they're still selling drugs. They're still committing crime. My brother feels that he has a license to beat up women, sell drugs, light fires, and I have to do the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, man, I think your brother is a serial killer.
You know what? He has all the characteristics, you know, being mean to animals, lighting fires. He has a hatred towards women. It's funny, when he's drunk, you can't even put a woman in the room with him. He's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When he's straight, he's kind of like different, you know?
Tell me real quick, you and attorney Ken Aronson represented you, Sonny, the Westies. You actually went into, I guess, the county clerk's office in Nassau County, and one of the clerks behind the desk sort of revealed to you that there was something under your brother's name, or that your brother put technically your last name. He's just your half brother. He has a different last name. What happened there?
Well, first of all, that was an old cop trick. They take the informants and they change their last name, and a lot of times the person they're informing on, they use their last name, and that's what they did with me. They made Michael Anetta into Michael Vita. What happened was I hit the clerk office off guard, I guess. I was always going there asking for Michael Anetta. They would tell me they have this, they have that. And one day, Victor Giuliano told me, ask them for Michael Vita, with a false last name, the right address, and the right date of birth. And they said, sealed from public view. So they told me by accident, you know, and they told Ken Aronson, yeah, there's something here. But the district attorney held that information back. My brother lied. He got out of jail for free. And I wouldn't even mind too much if I actually committed a crime. First of all, a quarter gram of coke in the cushion of a couch isn't a crime, really. not 19 years worth. But sometimes the government is very unfair with people, especially if they think they can give information. So my brother, exaggerated things and said, my brother knows Sonny Franzese. And their eyes probably lit open or whatever. It's a small town neighborhood or whatever. Nobody's a big name, nothing really going on. And they really, hammered me.
Ray, have you heard of anything like this before?
I never heard nothing like this. A quarter gram of coke. He's locked up with killers in prison, and for a gram of coke, everybody thinks it's nuts.
How about anybody you know that was betrayed by their own family?
No,
It's kind of unheard of.
I never heard of it, and when I found out about it on the New York Daily News, I heard a story about it. I was talking to my mom. I was like, "Mom, do you believe this? This guy betrayed his own father." And my mom even thought it was crazy.
Nick, not even just that. Sonny was 94 years old, but that's the way these rats are. Their reasoning. They want to stay on the street, and they feel a 94-year-old man is supposed to do their time. Sonny, he had an inkling that all these people around him wouldn't stand up. I'll say that, because he asked me a couple of times. He said, I trust you with my life. I know no matter what happened that you will never go to the police or what have you. So he wanted me to be like a buffer between this motley crew of criminals. His son, Ori, Guy Furtado. But I didn't want to be a criminal. And I kept my mouth shut, but I really didn't want to be a criminal. I didn't want to get involved in this drama. Everything that John Franzese gets involved with, or my brother, it ends up in a disaster. And I wasn't going to be the fall guy, If I insulated Sonny between his son and other people, Sonny wouldn't go to jail, but I would, and I wouldn't tell on anybody, so I would have to do my time. And I don't want to go back for another. They don't give me a year or a couple of years like Ori or some of these guys. They give me a lot of time, because they feel that I know a few people or I might know something.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Ray.
All right, Ray.
Yeah, next week, next time around, we'll talk about Scarpa and those guys.
I gotta look you up.
I'm going to sign off now.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Okay.
Take care, Ray.
Bye.
All right.